News right now out of the Tower Grove neighborhood where a St. Louis police officer has shot and killed a suspect. Good evening, I'm Mandy Murphy.
And I'm Elliot Davis in for Tom O'Neill. Fox News' Andy Banker with more on a tense situation. Andy.
Yeah, Elliot, it's still very tense right here. Police are still at the scene in large numbers. The young man who was shot and killed by a secondary security officer, a St. Louis police officer who was working for a secondary security firm in the neighborhood, gunned down, what police say, a man who police say was an armed suspect who opened fire at police. But the people around here, people who live around here, and friends and relatives of the person who was shot and killed are giving us an entirely different story. Here's the police account. The officer was working secondary duty in the 4100 block of Shaw, attempted a pedestrian check when the suspect fled on foot. Officer pursued the suspect. That was a little bit after 8 o'clock. The suspect turned and fired at the officer. Fearing for his safety, officer returned fire, striking the suspect. Again, this is according to police, and he fatally wounded the suspect. An 18-year-old suspect who lives in the neighborhood had been hanging out at the corner store here, the Shaw Market at Clem and Shaw. There's dispute as to whether he was armed with a gun. Police say they have recovered a weapon here at the scene, but people who know the young man who was shot and killed say he was armed with nothing more than a sandwich from the deli here, and that he was shot 16 times. It's still a very tense situation and a tense scene here. We're awaiting an update from police. They have yet to give us an update at the scene here, but we're awaiting that any second. Most of the information they've been tweeting out at this point, and we're awaiting more details. As you can hear in the background here, a lot of people disputing what police are saying. We're going to bring it all to you, and we'll stay here live. Reporting live for now, Andy Banker, Fox 2 News.
Live in the KMOV newsroom. We want to update you now on the situation of escalating tensions tonight in South St. Louis. This coming a few hours after an officer-involved shooting in which one man was killed in that shooting. Julian Johnson is live in the Shaw neighborhood right now to give us an update as to what's going on down there. Julian?
Yeah, Matt, at this point, we've had to move back from the area we were over at the corner of Clem and Shaw. We've moved back to the corner of Shaw and Tower Grove at this point. That's because just a few minutes ago, we were very close by several shots of gunfire. The first burst was about 5 shots. The second burst was only 2 shots. This all happened after crowds out here got very rowdy very fast. It happened around 10:40. Police started taking down the police tape, and at that point, me and my photographer Alonzo Metcalf could sense that something bad was about to happen. And sure enough, that crowd started moving toward the officers in a very aggressive manner. They were chanting, not touching the officers, but chanting and moving toward them. Chief Dotson was even out here. He was trying to speak with some of the protesters, explaining to them exactly what happened in the shooting earlier tonight, in which an armed suspect fired a shot at an officer who was off duty, shot and killed that suspect. So he was explaining to everyone exactly what was going on, but the crowd was not listening. They were continuing to move toward officers, and in this video, you'll see they started to get violent. They took their anger out on several police cars. In one instance, they damaged the tail light and the rear windshield wiper of one of the police SUVs that were out here. There was another instance where they followed several officers as they moved backwards, getting in the face of the officers, cursing at them, threatening them, but the officers did remain calm. There were no gunshots from officers at any of these protesters. However, there, again, was some gunshots that we heard. Don't know who those shots were directed at this point. And all of this came on the heels of, again, the shooting that happened near the corner of Clem and Shaw. There was an officer-involved shooting. That officer, again, was off duty, working security detail in this area. He came across 4 men. They ran away from him. He cornered one of them, and that suspect fired a shot at him. He shot back, killing that suspect. So the anger, people were very angry about what happened, despite the fact that the officer was shot at, and you saw that a lot of that anger sort of boiled over, and they took their anger out on officers out here. At this point, everything's calmed down for the most part. You see officers still out here, have this intersection at Shaw and Tower Grove blocked off, but for the most part, the crowds have gone home, and a lot of the officers have gotten to safety at this point. Matt, we'll get it back to you.
Thank you. Stay safe. News 4 is going to continue to follow this story throughout the overnight hours. Look for updates on KMOV.com and also on News 4 this morning. as we begin our Thursday morning. St. Louis police also announcing they are going to be holding a news conference shortly downtown. We will also be there, so keep it here at News 4 for the latest developments on this escalating situation in South St. Louis.